In this video, I will talk about the history of the game Forza Horizon from the first series, which was for 2012, to the last series, which is 2021. Before we go to the video, be sure to subscribe to our channel. "1942" is a 2002 first-person shooter video game developed by DICE and published by Electronic Arts for Microsoft Windows and Mac OS X. The game can be played in single-player mode against the video game AI or in multiplayer mode against players on the endgame. Players assumed the role of one of 5 classes of infantry: scout, assault, anti-tank, medic, and engineer. Players also have the ability to fly various World War II fighter aircraft and bombers, navigate capital ships, submarines, and aircraft carriers, man coastal artillery defenses, drive tanks, APCs and jeeps, and take control of anti-aircraft guns and mounted machine guns. It is the second installment in the Battlefield franchise after Battlefield 1942. The game was developed by a Canadian company, DICE Canada, and published by Electronic Arts. Battlefield Vietnam takes place during the Vietnam War and features a large variety of maps based on historical settings, such as the Ho Chi Minh Trail, Battle of Hue, Ia Drang Valley, Operation Flaming Dart, the Battle of Khe Sanh, and Fall of Saigon. On March 15, 2005, EA re-released the game as Battlefield Vietnam Redux, which includes new vehicles, maps, and an EA-produced World War II mod based on the previous Battlefield 1942.
Enemy tank has been found, over!
Players fight in a modern battlefield using modern weapon systems. Battlefield 2 is a first-person shooter with some strategy and tactical shooter elements. The single-player aspect features missions that involve clashes between U.S. Marines, China, and the fictional Middle Eastern coalition. The multiplayer aspect of the game allows players to organize into squads that come under the leadership of a single commander to promote teamwork. The story takes place in the early 21st century, during a fictional world war between various power blocks: China, the European Union, the fictional Middle Eastern coalition, Russia, and the United States. The game takes place in different fronts. It is the 4th game in the Battlefield series. Battlefield 2142 is set in 2142, depicting a war known as the Cold War of the 22nd century, in which 2 military superpowers, the European Union and Pan-Asian Coalition, battle for the remaining unfrozen land during a new ice age. Battlefield 3 is a 2011 first-person shooter video game developed by DICE and published by Electronic Arts for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. It is a direct sequel to 2005's Battlefield 2. In Battlefield 3's campaign, players take on the personas of several military roles: a U.S. Marine, an FA-18F Super Hornet weapon systems officer, an M1A2 Abrams tank operator, and a Spetsnaz GRU operative. The campaign takes place in various locations and follows the stories of 2 characters, Henry Blackburn and Dmitry Mayakovsky. The game sold 5 million copies in its first week of release and received mostly positive reviews. The game was released in October and November for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, and is the sequel to 2011's Battlefield 3, taking place 6 years later during the fictional War of 2020. Battlefield 4 was met with positive reception for its multiplayer mode, gameplay, and graphics, but was criticized for its single-player campaign and for numerous bugs and glitches in the multiplayer. It was a commercial success, selling over 7 million copies. It is the 10th installment in the Battlefield series and the first main entry in the series since Battlefield 4 in 2013. It was released for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in October 2016. Battlefield 1 received positive reviews from critics, who saw it as an improvement over the series' previous installments, Battlefield 4 and Battlefield Hardline. Most of the praise was directed towards its World War I setting, single-player campaigns, multiplayer modes, visuals, and sound design. The game was a commercial success, selling over 15 million copies. It is the 11th main installment in the Battlefield series and the successor to 2016's Battlefield 1, and was released for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on November 20th, 2018. The game is based on World War II and is a thematic continuation of its World War I-based precursor Battlefield 1. Pre-release reception of the game was mixed, with the announcement trailer causing significant backlash from some fans of the series. Upon release, Battlefield 5 received generally favorable reviews from critics, who praised its gameplay and new multiplayer modes, but criticized for its shortage of content at launch and lack of innovation. The game sold 7.3 million copies by the end of 2018, but was a commercial disappointment for Electronic Arts.
Can we just appreciate how good this looked?
It is the 12th main installment in the Battlefield series and was released on November 19, 2021 for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Windows, Xbox One, and Xbox Series XS. Unlike previous games in the series, Battlefield 2042 is solely multiplayer and does not have a single-player campaign. It features support for cross-platform play, a first in the series. Battlefield 2042 received mixed reviews from critics and a negative reception from players for its technical issues, lack of features, and certain changes to the gameplay. The game failed to meet the sales expectations of Electronic Arts.
MAVs, whatever. You can put all sorts of different scopes on this too. Does it have any